Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I was really hoping that this was going to be a building the bottom end video, but unfortunately world events have conspired against me. One of these is that one of my parts orders that came from the UK was incomplete. I had ordered two sets of two big end bearings, but unfortunately only one pair came, so instead of two pair I only got one. Okay for a twin, not so good for a four, so the replacement for that is on the water somewhere. It's probably another couple of weeks away before I'll see them. Also, I thought I would have had my cases back from the engine reconditioner by now, but they have not arrived either, so I'll be chasing those up this week. However, a little bit like the last update video, this is going to be relatively short. I do have some wonderful news. I have my head and barrels back from being repaired, and I'll put in a before and after photo about now, so you can see how absolutely awful they were, and what you're looking at now. I'm just so happy about them, over the moon. A huge shout out to my alloy welding genius, Lynton Rossington from Ipswich, which is west of Brisbane, and Wayne Jacobson from Specialised Blasting Services for their... I just can't say enough about those guys. They've been over backwards to help me, and you can see from the results, and again I'll put in some before and after shots, you'll just see what an amazing job they've done. First, before I get into that, a little bit more about tools and threads, which is something I've come under a bit of comment flack about in past videos. So for anybody under 50, happen to be American or God forbid French, Whitworth was the first standard thread form. Before that, local blacksmiths used to make whatever thread they could in whatever means they could, and every village had a different thread form and everything. So to celebrate, I now have a set of Whitworth sockets. So with the spanners that I've got, now I've got a set of sockets. Pretty much got everything I need to cover all the bolts and bolt heads that are on this machine. So getting back to Whitworth, so in Whitworth torque, a 1/2 inch bolt meant the shank of the bolt was 1/2 inch, so a 1/2 inch Whitworth spanner would fit a bolt that is 1/2 inch in diameter. Kind of makes sense. Then along came another standard, AF. AF stood for across the flats, where a 1/2 inch spanner would fit a bolt with a head that is 1/2 inch across the flats. So then life got confusing. So after that we had all manner of threads and pitches, all of which had particular jobs in mind, whether it being soft metal, hard metal, cast, alloy, steel, whatever. Engineers found they needed different pitches for different jobs. Fair enough, that's what we ended up with. So on the British side we ended up with things like BSW, which is British Standard Whitworth, we talked about before, BSF, British Standard Fine, I think there's a British Standard Coarse as well, Cycle Thread then came in 26 TPI, and there's also a 24 TPI Cycle Thread. BST, British Standard Pipe, nothing standard about that, you have British Standard Pipe in taper fittings and in parallel fittings. And the Americans got in on the act. They came up with UNF, UNC, Unified National Fine, National Coarse, and their version of pipe thread, which was NPT. I'm pretty sure that does a taper and a parallel as well. There's also a heap of different threads and pitches that I haven't mentioned, especially in old British machines. I recall years and years ago working on Morris or Fords or something, and the fuel taps had a fitting, I think it was called a Rotherham fitting, which again was peculiar to fuel fittings and different again. So before I put anything together, I want to clean everything up, and to do that I need taps and dies to do so. So with all these different thread forms and everything, And of course the world has moved on, you don't get a lot of those now in your local engineering shops. I found a place in the UK called Taps and Dies, ironically enough in London, and they've managed to, they carry most of what I want. So again, stuck in freight somewhere between the UK and here, it's a little bag full of all the necessary taps and dies that I need. For clearing out threads, I should be using a chasing tap, but these have been all but impossible to find in thread forms that I need, so I'll use a bottom tap and just be very, very careful with that. Some of the threads that I've identified in the square 4 include cycle thread, 26 TPI, I've got UNF, got UNC, BSW, and last week my new seat arrived from Dragonfly Motorcycles in the UK, and the bolt fittings on that are metric, so now we have metric fittings. And for all those smug metric lovers that might be watching this, let's not even start on the variations of what they call simplicity. So once again, I wouldn't be so excited about the next phase of this venture without the uncompromising genius of Wayne at Specialist Blasting Services and Lynton at Rossington for his skill, patience and methodology prowess for stitching my Ariel back together again. So let's just have a little look at what they've done here. You'll see on the before photos the fins on the exhaust headers, they're all bent and buckled, a couple of them were broken off. I'm not sure if it's this one or the other side. The bottom 2 fins were broken off altogether on the end. Here's hand built those back again. It's the other one. We'll have a look at that in a moment. With Wayne cleaning them up, you have to really look to see what's been repaired and what's not. Here's the other one. Again, all those bottom couple of fins were buckled. The 2 end ones he's rebuilt from scratch. Again, you might be able to see it on the camera. See a slight change in colour there, but barely noticeable. There was cracking through here, so he's left a little bit of meat in the weld there just to give it some strength. You may well have cleaned it back, but it wasn't necessary, and it won't be seen. From the top, you just can't tell. For the head, funnily enough, from dropping the head off to him, I do remember there's damage on it, but when we had a look at it, when we got back to it, I can't even tell where the damage was. I think it was one of these fins was broken off, maybe 2. But you just can't tell. It's done such an amazing job. Of course then Wayne went over it with his media blasting again, and that is possibly better than how it came out of the factory. So next stage for this, as soon as the bottom end is ready at the engine conditioner, we'll be taking the head and barrels down. We'll be checking out the bore. I think it's going to be okay. I've got with my basic vernier, I think it's going to end up 20th hour oversized, but we'll get them to measure properly and they can confirm that. Let's put this head down. Heads will need valves, possibly valve guides, we'll get them to measure that, and again possibly valve seats. Replacement seats I haven't been able to get, so whether they have something that they can turn up and make fit, we'll run with hardened seats for modern fuel, or there's plenty of meat in the seats that are in there, maybe they can just cut them back and we'll use a fuel additive. Got to work that out yet. So here are the barrels. Again, from the before and after photos, you see that there was significant damage through here. All those fins were broken. It had been like that for a long time. Lynton said when he's welding it, the amount of oil and everything that kept coming out of the pores of the alloy while he was welding it shows that they've been broken for many years. They've been like that. Again, the top broken. I'm not sure if you pick up on the camera, but you can see a little bit of the stitch marks in there, but from the front on view you can't tell. And when the engine is complete, pipes are on, downpipe here. I don't defy anybody to notice where the damage was. It's just wonderful. Interestingly enough, Lynton said he put an awful lot of time into making it not perfect. And the rationale behind that is these are old sand-casted barrels. They weren't perfect from the foundry. It's not like modern milling or CNC milled material or hand cast. So it wasn't perfect. He said if it made it too good, it would draw your eye to it. So leaving it a little imperfect was half the battle of the work that he did, and it shows. The eye can't really see that this has been repaired. So for now, this is it. I thank you very much for watching and subscribing to the channel. I'm starting to get really excited, and even though the bike is still in 1,000 pieces on the floor, we're actually a lot closer to getting it finished than what it looks. Hopefully before Christmas, but again that would depend on freight. So it may be a little bit after Christmas, but we're certainly in the home straight now. We're on the way back together. So once again, I thank you for watching, and hopefully the next one will be a lot more interesting because I'll be putting the bottom end together.